Y'all are a little early if you're watching this now. You're early. I appreciate you.
Power on. You are now paired. Enjoy.
2 minutes. 2 minutes. I guess I could put on some lip gloss for y'all. Shout out to everybody being early. Look at y'all. I gotta watch me put on lip gloss and a necklace. So I got 2 minutes. So I can do it up. I'll be right back. Hey y'all. It is 6 o'clock. I see people are coming into the Zoom call as well. Hello, hello. It's 6 o'clock, so we're going to get started. Make sure we're still connected everywhere. Okay. I think we're good.
Power off.
I promise we're good. So thank y'all for joining me. It is 6 o'clock on the dot, and I know how my people are, but I still want to get into it a little bit. Sorry, Bree, you're getting a preview. So if you are joining me, please say hello so I know that you're here. I can kind of see the people. Why am I hearing myself?
Hey, Chanel. Hey.
Bree is here. So if you join the Zoom call, you get a front row seat. Everybody on the Zoom call, I will be trying to make sure that they can see and understand everything. There also are visuals on the Zoom call, so I highly suggest that you make your way over there. But if you're not there, that's cool. I got you on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, and I appreciate you for coming. It does mean a lot. I'm going to try to give you the same experience that you would get in the Zoom call, so you shouldn't be missing anything. But if you have any questions or comments and you don't feel heard, please just drop them in the comment bar below. I am watching the live on both Instagram and Facebook, so I can see it all. Let's make sure we're still. Bree, can you go check to make sure I'm live on Facebook? Are we Facebook friends? I'm pretty sure we are. But it's not showing up.
Yeah, I'll check. Hold on.
Thank you. Oh, it looks like it's going. It's just, yeah, it's a lot doing a virtual show, in case anybody was wondering. You see, I haven't started yet, and I'm already sweating. But I learned a lot. I'm going to give a shout out to DJ, I was about to call her Dr. Dr. DJ Stacey J, because she knows everything there is to know, from my perspective at least, about casting, and she has helped me out a lot. So I appreciate that. Really shout out to all of my community for coming in, showing up, for all the Cash App donations I received. This has been a very interesting time, but I've felt very supported. So I appreciate y'all. And like I said, if at any point you can't hear me or you have a question, please drop it in the comments. If you're on Zoom, I think you have the ability to unmute yourself, but please save that for when it's time for that. So if you have any questions or comments, please put that in the comments as well. Trying to make sure that everybody who wants to be here is here. I think we're ready. Okay. I don't want to write no comments. Megan, I only sent the Zoom link out to people who either Cash Apped me or were in, I think a couple group me's got it. So if you want it, how can I do that? I don't think that's possible at this point. I'm sorry. But it will be recorded, so you can get the mashup of both the performance and the visuals together afterwards. Sorry, I didn't think through that, but I'm not about to try to type, because there's a very intricate setup here. Like, I'm looking at 4 different screens. There's a camera that I forgot to turn on. I'm going to do that now. It's a whole thing. All right, so we're going to get into it. Thank you for your question, Megan. I'll make sure I keep a lookout for that afterwards. All right, so the point of today's show is, because we're in interesting times, the idea of tomorrow is untitled, I think, is very important to us right now, because we are in a time where today just feels so confusing and we're not really sure what tomorrow is going to look like. So throughout the course of this show, I'm going to start with just kind of a prayer for ourselves. We're going to talk a little bit about ancestors and grief, because I think that that's important. And it's kind of hard for me to do a show in these times without acknowledging the grief that is present. But then we're going to get into some more empowering things. We're going to talk about who we are, however big you want to make that we, what we're doing, what we need, and what we can be doing. And then I'm going to end it with some time to celebrate ourselves. So if you have any events or any flyers, anything that you want to share, please be dropping that information in the comments, so that we are able to just see what everybody has to offer. I think I have a very interesting community. I have a very interesting network. And I'm really convinced that anything that anybody needs, I know somebody who has it or knows how to get it or has gotten it before. So at the end of the show, please make sure that you shout out whatever it is that you're doing so that we can connect. And then we're going to plan for tomorrow. And by that, I mean, I'm going to tell you guys about some upcoming stuff I have going on, but also about upcoming ways for you to get involved in either in your community or in like a virtual group that's doing something that's important to you. Okay? So y'all got the general plan for where we're going. I think everybody, hi Nicole, I think everybody kind of gets it. But if not, you know, like I said, drop a question. So before we get going, I did want to send a special thank you to all of our essential workers who are out here saving lives and really dealing with the weaknesses in our social structures. I appreciate y'all. But more importantly, I pray for you. I send you light. I send you energy. I pray for all of those who are vulnerable right now, all of those who are grieving family members, all of those who are just experiencing a weaker social fabric than they are used to. It's difficult. So in this time, I'm hoping for more interconnectedness. I'm hoping that people connect on this show, be it in the comment section or anywhere else. I'm hoping that this show generates more conversation, really. I have an idea of a few what I consider to be sacred social systems that I think need work. So I'm going to send some prayer and energy out to those. That's education, healthcare, tech and energy, economics, law, politics, art and policy, art and literature, and entertainment and media. And I call those sacred systems because they really have been affecting our experience here. So we're going to try to lift them up in prayer. So if you believe in that kind of thing, please join me in prayer. You can just be sending your own energy. If not, just listen. If you have a copy of my book at home, Proof, what it looks like, say, hey, Proof. One of the first things I do in this book is to give honor to my ancestors, but also I have a prayer called I Intend the Healing of This Earth. So I'm going to read from that now. I wish I had page numbers in this book so I could tell you what page to turn to. But it's one of the first poems. I intend the healing of this earth. I intend the gradual and complete change of human consumption and interaction. I intend a massive wave of individualized awakening that results in tangible, personal, and social retribution and peacemaking. I intend our personal safety and comfort throughout our lives. I intend healthy, productive, enjoyable relationships with self, family, and friends. I intend a respectful discourse with society and my species. I intend harmonious, nourishing, loving relationships with all living things. I intend protections from entities that wish harm. I intend protections for the vulnerable everywhere. I intend powerful, personal, professional, and spiritual relationships. I intend abundance, financial fortitude, and provision for myself and legacy. I intend a beautiful legacy of creators and healers that have everything we need. I intend clarity and energy for the work, practice, and lifestyle that comes with living my best life and being my best self. I intend attention, discernment, understanding, and reflection are my superpowers. I intend to walk and live as proof of the power and energy of my God and my ancestors. Ashe. I've also been doing prayers on my Facebook Live every day for the past 3 days, and I'll continue to do that for the next couple days. But really, I just wanted to take a moment to say that we should be praying over each other and ourselves and the issues that we see. I guess I'm just going to be sweating. But if we don't speak life to these things, if we don't speak to the things that we see around us, what's going to happen with them? So that's really what I wanted to get to. Regardless of what your spiritual background might be, you should have, well, most spiritual beliefs and most belief systems in general have a concept of ancestors living beyond this time, right? So if you're Christian, to be absent with the body is to be present with the Lord. If you are, let me not start going into examples, but I know for myself personally, I believe that. And I also believe that there's an unbroken chain between ourselves and our ancestors. And as we lose people, especially through tragedy, I think they still have things to say to us. They have things that we can learn. And if we don't tap into that, we lose that piece of what could be a beautiful journey. So I do encourage that we reach out to our ancestors. I'm not sure how many of y'all are familiar with like the conservation of energy or the conservation of mass, but pretty much what it says is that once something is created, it can never be destroyed, right? And if you think about our earthly ecosystem, everything that we have created, everything that was born is still here in some way. It's still a part of us. It goes back into the ground. It goes into our society. So I think that if we ignore that energy, we're missing a major piece of what is supposed to be here for us to be helped and for us to be able to adapt and change as we need to. A lot of clicking I'm doing. I'm sorry, y'all. So we talked a little bit about that, but really I want us to see ourselves as interconnected. You might not know the other people on this call. You might not know the other people in your live stream, but there's a connection, right? There's at least me. At the bare minimum, you have in common that you know me. And I think that is something that we can use as a common place of starting to get something done, right? To do things across this earth. But there's an African principle called Sankofa, which means to go back and look and seek. And I think if we are not cognizant of our larger ancestors, of our larger groups, like our generations before us, be they, blood relatives or be they just people who had the job before you, right? And trying to look back and understand a larger concept of our timeline. A lot of my work speaks to ancestors just because of my cultural heritage, because of how many people I've lost that are still empowering me. This piece I'm about to do is actually called Ancestors, and it's from a book I have called Fractal that looks like this. Ooh. If this was like a live show, I would be like, everybody say, ooh, and y'all would say, ooh. And I'd be like, everybody say, ah, and y'all would say, ah. But I have to do it myself because it's the virtual age. So, ooh. Sorry, Fractal is one of the books I'm very excited about. But it was very inspired by my ancestors, by people who came before me and maybe passed away when I was younger, but gave me a strong sense of self. And it's just the energy you can't let go of. So I'm gonna do that piece. Hey, I did it. Hey, some people did the ooh and ahs in the groups. I'm sorry, I'm excited. Let me try to cool down and get into this piece. I'm sweating like I'm hula hooping, y'all. This is crazy. It's probably the lights. My ancestors wove my spine together with power and grit. My head bows never permanently, constant rise toward glory. My life can never be taken, no matter the threat. I am a living and breathing idea, generated on the backs of whipped kings. I am the look in the wet pupil of an eye, refusing to cry. I am sweat swirling and blood splattered across earth, made of continual life with monthly cycles of rebirth. My own reflection cowers in fear of my reality. I am persistence personified, fear grown, traumatized, an unbending enterprise of motion towards free equality, dripping from peace, made of unrelenting energy, rotating habits, enduring out of decisive habit, habitually giving self for we, cigarette smoke and insecurities in the breeze, the butt of nobody's joke. A truth that remains unspoke. I laugh with reasons whispered to me in my skin. An unwavering remix of my strongest kin. My soul sighs darkness through my skin. My back don't bend. It lends itself to angles. And when I'm done and carried on the wings of angels and this pain dulls to a slow hum, I will feel the sun rising to the beat of my own drum. We are one and never done. Run. That's that piece. I've done that a lot, so a few people may have heard it before. I might get me a fan. But the point of that piece is because the process of gaining an ancestor involves a lot of grief. The process of taking good things from bad situations is work. And I think we often try to skip to the step of being empowered by these things, and we don't give ourselves time to grieve. Grief has some stages. Grief takes time. But I think if we take care of ourselves throughout the process, if we are acknowledging how we feel, we can really tap into some unearthed potential and unearthed energy if we listen to ourselves and think about the work that people have done to get us to where we are. So that was the point of that piece. I will say, I forgot to mention this, if you have any of these books, you are out here winning. I only have so many of them left. But if you're interested, everything is $5 off on my website during this show. So if you wanted a book and haven't gotten one, this is a really good time to get one. If you go to my website, which I'll talk about later, you can get $5 off on it. I just don't want y'all to feel like I'm reading for something that you can't access, right? There's somewhere you can get a copy of it. But it's important to take care of yourself is really what I was trying to say. Sorry, but I saw a comment related to that. Yeah, I see somebody picked up on run, really because this is a continuous journey, right? This is a process of taking the baton from one generation to the next. And that's really where we are. And if we don't define what we're going through, if we don't talk to what our experiences are, it can pass us by. And those with more power, those with more power, will take advantage of this time and redefine it the way that they want it to be redefined. So we have to take time to take care of ourselves, to rest, and to plan for really what we want to experience. And there's a lot of different types of self-care. There's a lot of different ways that we can take care of ourselves. I know a lot of people often think of the physical pieces of it. There are emotional management, stress management as well, but there's also social self-care, right? And how do you deal with your relationships? How do you ask for help? How do you come together to work with other people? And that's really where a lot of my work has been in how do I take care of those who are close to me? How do I take care of the relationships that are definitely affecting my everyday life? But there are a lot of other types of self-care as well. We're not going to get into that. But I did want to give an example of what it feels like when you're taking care of yourself well. I go through my own journey with this, so I'm not at all trying to say that I am a self-care expert because I am not, but I will say that I'm committed to myself and my self-care. And sometimes I document that process. Sometimes I share with the world how I love myself. So this next poem is actually an example of that. It is Also from Proof. Everybody said, ooh. It's working. People in the comments are doing it. I'm really excited. I think we might have discovered a new frontier of performing. But this piece is called Found Self. It's one of my favorite pieces out of this book because it comes from a very raw part of my life. I'm not going to read it all because I think it's like 4 pages. I'm going to read the first little piece of it because I think it gets the point across just fine. Found Self, a free write. Found self watching water rub rocks in ways I've always wanted a lover to rub me, spontaneously, with a purpose bigger than what I can see right now. Found self wanting to be loved like rocks in high tide, finding self less attached to wants nowadays, looking over my shoulder less, waiting less, accommodating less, taking space for self even when it feels like it should hurt. I am pleased to see myself loved right by me and somebody else, but me first. She wants my undivided attention, even when she doesn't have anything to say. She wants her feet in the water. She wants to carry her shoulders like she got exactly what she wanted, even when she didn't. She wants to dance with impossible, close embraces with the nervousness that makes her heart stand still. She wants me and other beautiful things to make a home around her heart. Not a permanent home or a home that needs to be your only home, but a home nonetheless that you come to visit when the time is right. A home that splashes into your memory like a cool breeze of options you didn't know you needed. I like the way my skin tastes my environment, the way the water frightens only my electricity. Self-sitting, living for the love of my favorite songs and places and smiles. Ain't no place I'd rather be than dreaming of memories of right now. How sweet it will be to find self again. How sweet it will be to find self finding self again. Busy with no plans, taking care of the care that needs to be taken to the next level. Loving in languages I stutter in. Space and grace and blinks and silence. The slowest drip of a band-aid of false love. Giving my spine space to sting in the light of my own neck. Daring to live for the sake of living anyway. Living for the love of love, living for the light of darkness with my feet ankle deep in terrifying peace. That's that piece. I see some oohs and ahs. They're still doing it. So that piece really came from a place of trying to be present in a moment of self-love and not trying to wiggle out of it, but trying to talk about what it feels like. And I think the more that we take our time and our moments, the more that we savor our engagements with ourselves and each other, the more rich our experience will be. But also we'll notice things that are important to us, right? So for me, I noticed how important the water was for me, right? I noticed how important it was to have my favorite songs playing and those type of things. I think oftentimes we are waiting on some magic book on how to love ourselves. But your past experience have a lot of details that can teach you those things, right? So when have you felt loved? When did you feel at peace? When did you feel like you could really do something? And what was happening in your environment at that time, right? What did it smell like? What did it feel like? Who was there? What did it sound like? Because I think we can really do a lot by curating our experiences, okay? So once we've gotten to a point of being able to accept our experiences, there's a skill called radical acceptance that I learned about in therapy over the past 2 years. And radical acceptance allows you to put your finger on exactly what it is that's happening around you, right? So accepting the fact that I'm just sitting at the water right now, accepting the fact that I'm just in the house and this is what my day is right now. What can I now do? So that's what can I now do, but also what does that mean about who I am? So that's where I'm trying to go next, thinking about how we want to define ourselves, right? So once I've accepted what's around me, I can identify what things do I want to change, right? How would I like to see my experience differently? How would I like to be referred to? How would I like to be able to take care of other people, right? So I think as we think about who we are, it's important to remember the Kwanzaa principle of Kuji Chakalia, because it's all about self-determination. It's all about defining, naming, and creating for ourselves the world we'd like to see. And that's a part of what I was trying to do in this show, to give language to this time, right? To give language to what's happening, to give some type of marker to say, this is my conception of what was going on in that time. I have a piece that I wrote that kind of accomplishes something similar. While I was in Indiana, I was struggling because I didn't have a lot of cultural markers. I didn't have a lot of people or places or events that really spoke to who I felt like I was. So it was easy for me to feel misunderstood. It was easy for me to feel like I had to define myself better. So this next piece that I'm going to perform is called Invisible Queen. It's really self-explanatory, but you just got that good explanation for it. So if you didn't know where this piece came from and you've heard it before, now you know. This piece is in Fractal. Ooh. Good job, guys. I like the way that y'all are playing along with me. I really appreciate it. And this piece is one of my favorite pieces to perform. It's very freeing. Yeah, I think that's the best way to describe it. Invisible Queen. You sound like you just side-eyed yourself, cross-eyed and wealth of privilege you can't see. Can't hear the truth when it's coming from me because you've never had lives you couldn't feed or places you couldn't be. I can see you just stopped listening. Started thinking about my history and the songs we sang for your in-between that got trapped inside your American dream. Please tell me more about J and B. And then tell me what it's like to be me, because I was force-fed your perspective, told stories about your respect, and you want to tell me how I should define mine. Well, first, let's talk about how we're wasting our time, that burst of awkward while we're standing in line to a movie about your mistakes, a movie about commonplace privilege wrapped in the silence of the unforgiving distance between your truth and mine. So I'll say it one more time. You sound like you just side-eyed yourself, cross-eyed and wealth of privilege you can't see, can't hear the truth when it's coming from me because you ain't never had mouths you couldn't feed or places you couldn't be. I am a Black queen, even when you don't know what that means. Even when your face got that kind of lean, like I just showed you something you hadn't seen, queen. When you walk away, I need you to act like you know what that means because I don't know any queens that's going to argue with your ignorance. Just sprinkle some forgiveness and watch karma show you exactly who you was talking to. If I was you, I'd take about 2 steps off that steeple, start treating people like people because respect was never optional. And queens fight just like boxers do. Your neglect is going to be an obstacle because we was the first mafia. And that's a plot twist for you. You sound like you just side-eyed yourself. Cross-eyed and wealth of queendom you couldn't see. Keep telling me what it's like to be me and we going to show you. My shoulders are made of your insecurities and my feet are planted firmly on every single thing your ancestors tried to take from me. I am a Black queen, especially when you don't know what that means. Just that piece. Ooh, the crowd goes wild. This is really weird to do with no audience. Like I need a audience track so I can like meter myself. But I see some love happening in the comments, so I appreciate it. But yes, that piece was me defining for myself how I wanted to be referred to, defining for myself what issues I had with my surroundings, but also what issues I think my surroundings had with me. In a lot of my work, I talk about sacred social systems. I talk about the socially vulnerable. And for me, it's important to define the people that I'm concerned about, to define what their experiences are, right? So like the experience of having mouths you couldn't feed, right? The experience of knowing about tangible individual problems and not being able to do anything about it. Like that's a very specific experience that not everyone goes through, right? But by acknowledging for myself that I am going through that, right? That I am carrying perspectives of people who people may not ever hear about, but that's something that's happening to me, right? And giving language to that, giving work to that, I think is really important. So as we think about who we are, I've been stressing this idea of seeking out perspectives from those who are more vulnerable than us. The function of capitalism, the function of really doing okay is that you don't think about people who are doing worse than you. And even if you do it, normally it's in like a charity sense, but not in a sense of I am them, right? Martin Luther King has a quote that says, an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And I take that very seriously. As I have grown up, it's always been really hard for me to watch people not have what they need. It's always been really hard for me to know that there are cultures and places in this world where people are not served because I always felt like through the right or wrong series of circumstances, that could be me, right? And if I accept it, if I see this happening to somebody and I accept it, then what's going to happen if I'm going through something and somebody sees me, right? And are they going to help me, or are they going to just think that, oh, that just happens? And I think these times have shown us that we are a part of a larger pattern. We are part of a larger ecosystem, and we affect each other, right? Javier Gonzalez has some beautiful artwork he just released on Facebook called A Part of a Much Larger Pattern. I think it's interesting because when you look at it up close, you can tell that it's made of different fabrics, but when you look far away, it just looks like a pattern, right? And I think for me, one large lesson has been like, yes, it's important for me to know and be able to define who I am, but it's also important to me to be able to understand how that person fits into everything else, right? So yes, I'm a Black queen. Yes, I have a very specific conception of the issues that I think are important, but all of those sit within the ecosystem. All of those sit within other people's identities and other people's conception of what's important, you know. And I think there is an African principle called Ubuntu, which says, I am because we are. And it symbolizes humanity towards others. It's actually the theme of this painting behind me. And this one it says, if I eat, you eat, which is like another way of saying I am because we are, right? Or the idea that I am invested in the experience of other people. But this art at the bottom of it, you can't see it down here, but it says, if we eat, then we can build. And that's kind of where my work is at this point, acknowledging that like it's not just good enough for me to eat and for me to take care of other people to eat, but once we are eating, right, once we have what we need, what are we building? What are we interested in? What are the problems that we can solve? What are the problems that we have been distracted from? And what are the problems that feel passionate to us? I think if we think about what we're doing right now as a society, if we think about what we're experiencing, in a lot of ways, we're coming together and we're working really quickly around problems that matter to us, from the doctors, from the community involvement. There are a lot of examples of us coming together and working together and loving on each other. But I think that can only go well if we are listening. And I think listening is a lot more complicated than just logging in, right? It involves you seeing yourself. It involves you seeing somebody else and then seeing yourself in that person, right? And I think the more that we can listen and connect with each other, the better that we can take care of each other. The next thing I want to talk about was, what do we need, right? So, hey, Miss Renee, I miss you so much. I don't miss anything about Indiana other than like a few of my friends at my department and the Black Culture Center. Like, if y'all could just move that to Detroit, that would be great. But as we think about what we need, so we've done all this listening. Well, first we've done all this listening to self, right? And then we've done this listening to the people around us. What can we do, right? What are the actual tangible pieces of your influence, right? So a lot of where my work is going now is all about helping people to understand what their skill sets are, what their identities are. So be it professional or personal, what identities do you have, and how has that identity enabled you to solve problems that matter to you? On the flip side, how has that identity kept you from being able to solve problems that matter to you? And once I think you've answered those two questions, then you can think about what relationships you need to build beyond your identities to start solving problems that matter to you. I think, like I said, my network is incredible. There's a lot of power in that network, but there are a lot of people who don't quite know how that power can be used, right? So I'm in some organization, I'm in some corporation, I have access to these people, but I don't exactly know how to best leverage this level of privilege. Or I don't exactly know how to leverage this level of interaction. And that's where I want to see us going over the next couple of weeks, really. But over the next few years in my career, I really I like seeing people connected, but I like seeing people intentionally connected, right? People understanding how their relationship with another person can really create some type of real change. So that's where I'm trying to go. I have a book, obviously. I have a poem, that speaks to what I think needs to be seen. But I'm never trying to force that on anybody. I'm never trying to say that like my version of what tomorrow should be is what it is, right? I purposely called this tomorrow as Untitled because I think each of us have different conceptions for what tomorrow wants to look like. But I have a piece where I talk about what I think tomorrow should look like. It's in proof. Everybody say, ooh. Say, ah. I really enjoy this, and it makes me think the quarantine is driving me crazy because that was really fun for me. Okay, so Proof, which is the name of this book, but also the name of a poem inside this book. For my babies. How are you going to tell anybody how it feels to be in love if they've never been in love? And what about your freedom? How do you convince a generation to fight for a freedom they've never seen? A new way of seeing the skin that they woke up in. That skin way more melanated than the truth they've been fed. Where's the proof? Their eyes will ask you, where is the proof? Where are our examples, our warriors, to exist in the shadows of your home country's education and need the light of day in ways that you cannot see? Our babies need proof, and I am that proof. We are that proof. The Nina Simone reflecting liberators, the equity makers, the proof of lives enriched by sticking to the truth that it cannot stay like this. Our kids need real opportunities tailored to fit the homes that they grew up in. They need proof that their dialects are okay, proof that their mother tongue ain't ghetto everywhere, and their made-up songs have value in the air, proof that a culture is worth its weight in striving for community change, proof that they deserve a life that doesn't make a game or statistic out of their survival, proof that access is granted to more than their test scores. They need to be sure that they can give back in their communities, because what's the fun of surviving on your own and thriving with no home, just houses made of money made and paid outside of your own community? Their eyes will beg you for proof and accept nothing less than a guarantee that they can do something to grow the roots of their family tree. We are that proof. The seeds of communities built to love where they came from, unashamed of the names they gave us, because they'll always have to call us something. Minority, underrepresented, underserved, underexposed. I prefer underimpressed, neglected with the rest of the children of the hardworking nation builders. No more patience building. It's time to put the truth in the air and on the news and into the curriculum, because my kids ain't dumb. They're culturally wealthy. We are that proof that we are not a foreign policy or an interest group or an option, proof that we are citizens too, and too tired to still be neglected, too inspired to stay where they left us, and too powerful to stay disconnected. And the rest is history in the making, freedom for the taking. How are you going to tell anybody how it feels to be in love if they've never been in love? And what about your freedom? Show them the proof. That's that piece. That piece is really important to me because teaching is most of the reason why I do anything. Most of the reasons why I'm sorry, I haven't seen this. Most of the reason why I started my PhD program is because I wanted to be able to better provide proof to students that there's a reason for this. There is a good reason to grow up and to continue. There is a good reason to learn. There's a good reason to connect with other people. But they don't believe you unless you have proof, right? So unless I have proof of a life lived well, I can't go back and tell somebody else what I think is a good idea, right? And I think we need to share that proof a lot more, because we are that proof. We have examples, we have stories, we have relationships, we have been through things, but we sit on it. We don't share it. So when people go through it afterwards, they think they're the first person to go through it, right? They think there's something special about what they're going through. And it's not that it's not special, right? But there are skills out there. There are ways and places to go to survive these things. And we need to show them that proof. So that's proof. Yeah, see now why the book is called that. So as we are talking about being the proof, I think this kind of alludes to that saying, be the change you want to see in the world. And there are a few different principles I think that also allude to that. There's Ujima, which is a day of Kwanzaa that is all about collective work, and responsibility, and this idea of coming together to actually take responsibility for our environments. But then there's this other idea called unpack, which I should be better at pronouncing right now, but I'm not, and I don't think that was right. But if you go to the website afterwards, you'll see an image of it. Unpack means harmonious reconciliation. So well, I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's not enough just to quote unquote show the proof, but you have to be that change. You have to do the work to actually reconcile relationships, to reconcile issues, and to work collectively. So I think often we can get into a place of just like, show and tell. But show and tell is not the same as work, right? It doesn't give people what they need all the time to actually get stuff done. In order to do that, there needs to be a level of reconciliation, a level of relationship building, so that real sharing can happen. So I want us to think about what resources can we offer, right? I mean, COVID time is a good time to really get creative, but I think beyond the platform, beyond all the social media influences, we have resources within ourselves that can be offered to other people, right? We have experiences, we have perspectives, and sometimes it may be just straight up money and time, right? But we have something that can be offered to other people. Maya, I just read your comment. Potato does sound like one potato. Yes, thank you. But as we think about the resources we have to offer, I want to hear from you guys. So what do you have to offer? What resources do you know about? What events are special to you? What have you seen in these times that makes you excited about tomorrow, right? So feel free to start putting those in the comments. I'm going to do a community spotlight. So not right now, but y'all got like maybe 3 or 4 minutes to think about what resources you have to offer, what events we should know about. Drop some comments, drop flyers, drop links. Everybody who viewed this, I'll be contacting you afterwards to give you, information about this. So if you have anything that you want to contribute, please put those in the comment section now. So as we plan for tomorrow, I think I need to not do that because I have lipstick on. Sorry, y'all. I'm not used to wearing mixed lipstick. As we plan for tomorrow, I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned throughout my mid-20s, and I'm almost done with my mid-20s. I'm in my late 20s now. I'm excited. This is as old as I've ever been. But one of the major things I've learned is that no matter what you go through, you will keep going through things. I think in my early 20s, I was very much like, oh, I'm going through these things so I can learn this lesson and never have to do this thing again. And that's just not how life works. And I often tell my students, like, yes, school will get harder, but you will get stronger, right? And I think for me, that was a perspective that was really helpful because life just gets more and more complicated. Every generation, every day is something different, some new challenge to rise to. And I think if we don't have the right perspective on that challenge, every challenge will feel like a whole new wave. So I wrote a piece kind of about that. I actually wrote it when I was at a conference in New Orleans. I was in New Orleans for the first time, and it was probably one of the few cities in this world that I think kind of feels like Detroit in terms of this energy. But it was raining when I was in New Orleans, and I was sitting outside of a conference just watching the rain, and it brought all these ideas of learning lessons to me. So I'm going to share that with you now. It's in Fractal. Ooh. I'm real excited about this. It will rain. Heavy showers, clean streets, once refurbished by a hurricane. These streets share a knowledge with me, a knowledge of bathing after baptism, of being sprinkled after soaking, of enduring the continual cycle of life's recursive rehearsal. My mind, like these streets, has seen heavy downpour, even after devastating storms. This is not a poem about how water purifies, but a simile about how it rains in cities that have had enough rain once before. A simile about lessons learned after lessons have been learned the hard way. A simile about the lifelong learning that is this existence to experience a hurricane, bounce back and stand in the rain like it's new again. A simile and a metaphor about the trap door that it is to take a stance. The fee of perspective is the ease of neglecting all moments not seen in full view. The object has never been you. It's only ever just been a clue to what you'll eventually have to do another day in a different way with more or less intensity. This is not a poem about comfort zones. This is a poem about how comfort zones really don't exist. Because the longer you persist, you'll realize that it will eventually rain again, even when you're tired, even when you're ready, even when you're sleeping. Lessons will always be. So complacency is more of a disease that's so easy to see, it's invisible. Like hurricanes that have passed already but never really leaves. It still rains in New Orleans, so who am I to think that I'm done growing just because the last time was more than I saw coming? Who am I to advise you on who to be when the decision to be me was more of a plea with my existence than a royal climb through my family tree? It metaphorically rained one day all through my ego, and the only thing bolted down was enough humility to hold some confidence, to metaphorically buy an umbrella, a sense of self that could withstand more rain. Life is the longest game of waiting out the rain and deciding when to dance, because there's a chance that all of you won't survive the storm. And there's a chance that you'll never be sure of your chances, or that lightning will strike twice, or that you'll have to learn the same lesson until you carry it right. And even then, it will rain again. That's that piece. It will rain. It's in Fractal. That is one of my favorite pieces. I haven't taken the time to commit it to memory because I like how it feels every time I rediscover it. I think if I memorize it, it would take a little bit of the juju out of it for me. But I like that piece because it's something that's kind of hard to grapple with. The idea that regardless of what you go through, you will keep going through things. I'm the kind of person that likes to get things done, that likes to just check things off my list. And life doesn't always work like that, right? There isn't an amount of work that I can do to make sure I don't ever have to work again, right? I mean, I was raised, watching 9/11 happen. I was raised watching the city go bankrupt. I was raised watching people's life savings not mean anything. So for me, that can be I think for me and my generation, it can be very depressing because you realize that life is just a bunch of stuff you have to deal with, right? But I think the earlier that you can accept that and the earlier you can accept that you will keep going through things, I think it makes you take other things more seriously. It makes you take your relationships more seriously. It makes you take the time that you spend more seriously, because there isn't some eventual time of not working on this plane, at least. There always will be some issue. There always will be something to deal with. And the more I grow, the more I trust that I will deal with it when I get there, right? That I will be able to deal with these large issues as long as I am present, as long as I am present with myself and with my community. We can deal with it, right? It's going to rain again, and I know that. So we are investing in umbrellas, right? We're invested in the fabric of our community so that as things happen, we can deal with them together. So that's the point of that piece. I think I see a few comments. Make sure you read the comment section. I see a lot of oohs and ahs. That's what I like to see. There's a discount code for my website if you want to buy any of the books I'm talking about. This discount code is only going to be available until 8 o'clock tonight. So you get $5 off whatever you purchase with the discount code of tomorrow. So if you like anything you heard and you don't have a copy of it, please let me know. Or go buy one. Sorry. You can let me know, but also go buy one and I can send it to you. I really think that these two books are one of my prized possessions. I think that I've seen them inspire a lot of reflection in people. I met a lady who says that she carries it in her purse and makes her clients read it for different things. As much as I'm not down with forced reading, right, it didn't speak to the power of perspective and the power of having different ways to describe things. So if you want a book, they're on sale today, specifically for those of you who logged in. I'm not going to be posting this anywhere, so only y'all will get the $5 off. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate your support. So in terms of planning for tomorrow, I'm going to come and read those comments in a second. In terms of planning for tomorrow, what I really want to see in our community is more conversations and more listening and more dreaming of utopia. I know a lot of people think utopias are unrealistic, but it's important to have an unrealistic idea. It's important to have a conception of things that is beyond whatever you are experiencing right now. So let's think about what type of society we would like to see. I'm not saying we're going to have that conversation right now. I will take some comments at the end if you would like to, but I'm thinking moving forward, these are the conversations I would like to be a part of, right? These are the ideas that I'd like you to text me about in the middle of the night. Like if you're thinking about where you would like to see society, that's the conversation I think we need to be having. Because as we think about the society, we are able to find pieces of what might feel unrealistic but can be brought into the society, right? So it might not, like, yes, universal health care seems ridiculous, right? But there's a piece of that. How do we get there? How do we plan for those things? I have some resources related to thinking about tomorrow. This is a book that my company has very softly released. I've really only shared it with a few people. Y'all are hearing about it now because I love you, and y'all have shown some type of investment in what I have to say and stuff. But the point of this is to think about tomorrow, to take a problem that we see today and to work through how can we get to a better future. So this book has a framework called the Cultural Hackathon, which you may have heard of if you've been following me. And if not, I can do a whole nother lesson on what this does. But the Cultural Hackathon is really just using the design process to solve problems. And it's useful to help you think about the space between right now and tomorrow, the space between what I'm seeing and what I'd like to see. It's not a cure-all, but it just has a few questions that help you to scaffold the design process, that help you to scaffold what you want to get through. So I see, keep making comments about what you have to say, and I'm going to get to those in a second. The last thing I want to say is that stay connected with me. I think a lot of y'all follow me in some capacity, maybe it's Instagram, maybe it's Facebook, maybe it's just, email updates. But I want you to stay connected because I'm really in the business and in the process of redesigning a few pieces of my environment. Not by myself, but with other people. And the more people I have involved, the better it will be. Tomorrow I'm doing another event where I will be walking through my studio space, also known as my apartment, and sharing my artwork. And I think that'll be helpful because I do want more collaborative relationships. I want more just collaborative projects, collaborative painting. But I also want to have more conversation about my art because my art usually speaks to things that are important to me, things that matter to my conception of my reality. So that's tomorrow at 2 o'clock. It's going to be on Facebook Live and Instagram Live. I don't think there will be a Zoom call, and I haven't figured out how I'm going to set it up. I think I'm going to do it similar to this one and just bring artwork over here as opposed to trying to walk through my apartment. So that's tomorrow. Please show up for that. There's no suggested donation for that, mostly because, if you see something you like, you can buy some art. There was a suggested donation for this one because this part is art, right? It took art to get here. All right, y'all get it. Anyway, so in addition to the show I have tomorrow, I've also recently launched a platform called Beebe Speaks. And the point of Beebe Speaks is to have really important conversation about important issues. It's both a live video thing, but also a podcast. Some of you have tuned into those in the past. We do have a website, and I'm going to talk through those events in a second. So Beebe Speaks is an option. And then there also is a brand new, I'm so excited, hot off the presses, brand new collective that I'm working with. It's called a CFO Collective. Maya knows what a CFO means. A CFO is another word for vibranium. I don't know if you saw Black Panther, but if you turn the subtitles on, when they say vibranium in their language, it's the CFO, and it's actually a word that means the gift. I want to say it's a Yoruba word, but it might be another African culture that I'm mistaken. We'll have to figure that out. Anyway, the CFO Collective is a collective problem-solving collective. I have too many words. I'm too excited. But the major purpose of the CFO is to do some social design here in Detroit, but also through existing networks and communities. The mission is to create and maintain capacity for individuals and institutions dedicated to social and educational equity. It is an organic collective of thought leaders concerned about sacred social systems and socially vulnerable populations. So specifically the social systems that we're looking at are education, health, tech and energy, economics, law and politics, arts and literature, and entertainment and media. The populations that we are concerned about are the earth, youth, elderly, African Americans, marginalized women, poor and working class people, and underrepresented students. So as of right now, we do have an email address where you can contact us. Right now it's a collaboration between Detroit Community DC3 Collective. I'm so sorry, Mindful Bee. But Mindful Bee has an organization. I want to say it's Detroit Conscious Community Creative. I'm messing it up. I'm so sorry. But the point is, it's a collaboration between local organizations that are run by people who are concerned about the same kind of people that I'm concerned about, who do work in different areas but have the same kind of stakeholders. So we're trying to collect other leaders who do good work, right? Who do good work related to any of these things, who have ideas. Our major kickoff will be this summer. We're going to be doing some hackathon-like things, some think tanks, but also just sharing resources around self-care, resources around how to manage a team, resources around how to, write grants and those kind of things. What's the name of Arada's thing? Yeah, so there'll be a bigger announcement about that coming soon, but I did want to let you guys know, since y'all are like now the inside scoop of everything related to Chanel, because I came to the performance. So that's the Tifa Collective. There is a flyer for the studio walk that I mentioned that is tomorrow. That's going to be on Facebook Live and Instagram Live. Beebe Speaks, we will continue probably at the last week of April. We're going to be talking about grief and ancestors a little bit more deeply. So if you have any experience with grief that you would like to share, please join us. After that, we're going to be talking about working from home and self-care. So we have a lot of great things coming. Don't forget about the books that I have. Keep making your comments, right, Errata? Thank you, Maya. Sorry, the comments on Facebook have all the answers if you want them. But if you want any of the books, please check them out. I will say that Fractal is the most cost-effective in the sense that it's only $15, but for y'all, it's only $10. These are my special over mic prices. Fractal is beautiful. It has some of my best written work, and it's one of the first books that I really put some intention in terms of trying to get a picture of my experience out. Proof is a more involved version of Fractal. Proof is artwork, it's short stories, it's poetry, and it's in color. So there's like artwork all throughout it. It's a beautiful book. I highly suggest it. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if y'all saw that. But this one is $20, also known as $15 for y'all right now until 8 o'clock. If you don't have either one of these, please get them, because as I get famous, I assume they'll be worth money because I self-published them. And it'd be really cool if you could say you have the one that you got like directly from me, because eventually I will go to like a really big publisher and it'll be a whole thing. So if you'd like to support, these are great ways to do so. I also have too many buttons around here. I also have some other books that many people are not familiar with, so I did want to just show y'all those. There is Reveal. Everybody say ooh. Say ah. So Reveal is a collaboration I did with Ahmad Barber. It is absolutely, I don't know if I can turn around and show it to you, but it's absolutely gorgeous. It's like full color with different poetry in it. Most of this poetry was not published anywhere else, so I think this is a very slept-on book of mine. I actually didn't have physical copies of it for a couple years, and then I just got it, and I've just been like, oh my God, this is like perfect. So I have a few of these if you are interested. These are $10. I think they're definitely on my website, but I know they're also a few other places. I also have Now and Then, which is my first poetry book. Ooh. So this is a book I published before I went to Purdue, before I was in the PhD program. I published a book. Looks like I just lost Instagram. Anyway, I published this book because I was trying to get my perspective out at the time. My first ever performing poetry piece is in here. So the first time I ever performed poetry, I wrote this piece, and that's the first piece in this book. Sorry. So if we have more time, or if anybody's interested, I can do some reading from that book. And I mean, there are a lot of other books. So there's this book, which is a book of quotes. Ooh. I like my Haraka family. They playing along. So this book I wrote at the beginning of 2016. Because 2016 just felt like a really weird year for me, and I was like, I need to get my ideas out because I don't know what I'm gonna be at the end of 2016. So it has a lot of different quotes. It's full color. This one is 20 because it is kind of like a coffee table book. It's the kind of thing that you put down and pick back up. It's gorgeous. The artwork within it is my artwork as well. And then we have my most recent baby, Dun, dun, dun. This book deserves its own presentation. At some point, I will do it. This is called Views, and it is a coffee table book in the sense that it's full of artwork, but it's also a reflection book so that each page has a different reflective prompt on it. So this one says, what habit energy do I need to build to become the person I want to become? It's a pretty deep question that I haven't answered myself, but I will get to it because I have this book now. It also has images from the calendar that I released. So if you were not able to get a calendar, this book has all of that and more. Views. I'm so excited about this book. Like, I've never done a book like this before. So Views is, I should know how much this book costs. It's on my website. I want to say it's $15. I'm pretty sure I can do it for $15. Somebody check and let me know if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's $15. This book came out this year on the spring equinox. It was very recent. I've been working on this book for a long time. Well, all of my books, there's like a year of work that goes into it. But this one is a collection of artwork that I've been doing over the past few years. And the reflection prompts took a lot of reflection to get to. So there's a lot of work in this book. I'm really excited about Views. Now, I think that is all I have to say. I do want to mention that if you are interested in publishing your own book, that is one of the resources that I offer. So I'm about to get into the comments to hear about the resources that other people offer. But I did want to say that I publish my own books with the help of a few websites and, printers. But if you need help with that, I got you. If you just want to transcribe a book, I can do that for you, even though it's not that fun. If you want to actually get a book out and put like an ISBN on it, I can do that. I do the formatting. I've done all the covers of my book except for, I think, Reveal. Amaya did that one. And typically I can keep the prices pretty low, kind of depending on what you're looking for. Like Fractal, for example, I can sell that one for $10 because I designed it to be able to sell it for $10 because I knew I needed a book that was affordable, right? Whereas with Proof, I wanted a book that was showcasing everything and it wasn't as important for it to be affordable. So it's not as cheap, but it is quality, so you can kind of figure out how you want to do it. If you have a book in mind or anything you want to do, it usually takes about 3 weeks from start to finish. If you have the book already written or some pieces of the book already written. If you need help with the writing process, I can do that as well. So let's take a look in these comments. Okay. So many oohs and ahs. Y'all make me feel loved. Y'all make me feel so loved. Okay. I see Miss Renee. Hey, Nima. Oh, thank you for all the love, Maya. Share your experiences, lead by example. Yes, that is the point of what share. Megan has a resource to share. There's a group called Elevate Inclusion Network that is doing amazing stuff. If you do any work related to inclusion, if you do some entrepreneurship stuff, that collective is a really good collective to build community with. We just started, I think we just had our first meeting yesterday. It's a virtual community, so if you're interested, definitely look into that. I see some people encouraging, I think Jamal is encouraging stocks, so if you're interested in that, you can talk to him about that. The housing market is something, the housing market is doing great right now, depending on how you describe great. Healing by Choice is a network for women of color. That sounds good. I'm going to look into that, Amanda. Thank you for sharing that. Where can you donate? So my Cash App is my full name, CHANELBEEBE. So with the $, CHANELBEEBE. I was supposed to make like a little sign to put in the back that had all my information on it, but I didn't get to it. So if you look at any of the flyers, or if you reach out to me, I will help you donate. But that's my Cash App. Yes, it is on Instagram Live. I'm sorry. I'm so late to tell you that. But it also did record it, so I'll be able to send it to people. Maya, I cannot pronounce the name of that, but that is the language that a CFO is in. We will drop information about that. Rada, I'm so excited about this collective. Thank you for your words, Megan. I appreciate that. Yeah, I have the privacy settings purposely limited to my friends and my friends only. Just because I wanted to give y'all a chance to have this space together. I wasn't entirely sure who all would show up, and I didn't know. Hey, Drew, you made it. I will talk about the platform, okay? I guess I can stop sharing my screen so I can see y'all. Yeah, so I purposely had the privacy settings a little tight because I wanted to prioritize my community. I know sometimes when you just open it up to the public, anybody can come in. And because I was talking about very polarizing things, I wanted to make sure that I have space for my community first. But after I'm done, I will release the settings. I'll download these videos, and they'll be available for the general public. I think it went well. I feel like I did okay. I tried not to talk too fast. But yes, I'll make sure those are available to the public. So tomorrow, I hope to see you guys again at 2 o'clock. I will be doing a virtual studio walk through my apartment. I have a lot of artwork that is for sale, but I'm going to be selling it on a first come, first served basis. So if you see something you like, please let me know. I will say if it's on the walls, it's either not for sale or really expensive because I like it a lot. But I have all type of other artwork that is equally as amazing that I will be letting you guys see tomorrow. So yeah, I did it in exactly an hour. I was really concerned about that because I didn't want to run into other things. So 7 o'clock, I appreciate you all for joining me. If you would like to join the Zoom call, you can. And we can talk if you want to. Hi, Sanam. Hi, Bree. If you have any comments, I see a lot of love happening on the Facebook Live. I have to check to see what happened with the Instagram. It looks like it went out. Yeah. Thank y'all so much for coming. I really appreciate the support. If you'd like to support me in any way, you have all kind of ways now. You got poetry books, you got the Cash App. If you want to write a book, all kind of options. All right. So if you guys have any questions for me, this will be a good time. I know, right? I did it in 1 hour. And I was like, I talked about ancestors and grief. Like, we got into it, and I didn't get stuck. I'm real happy for myself. Tori, I miss you. Who is Smith? Which Smith is this? I know who Smith is. That would explain why there's no video. Okay. I'm ready to close things down. Hey, so no questions for me? Zoom call. Y'all have priorities, so if y'all have questions or you want to talk to me, you can. I feel like a news reporter because I'm looking at all these different screens. I wish I could show y'all. Yeah, I can't show y'all what I'm seeing right now because all of my picture taking devices are looking at me. So I'm just going. I see a question. How can I purchase the Cultural Hackathon book? Hit me up directly if you want one of these. It is available on Amazon, but I want to say it's extra expensive because I wasn't trying to sell it to the general public. I have 4 copies of them left on me, but I can order more. So if you want one of the Cultural Hackathon books, hit me up directly. There's another version of this book that is smaller. The cool thing about this book is that it's like a workbook. So you can actually like write in it. I have another version of this book that just has information. So it's more of a design guide. This one is a reflection design guide because that's a different thing, right? But yeah, so that's how you can get this. The other one, the smaller one that's on Instagram, I want to say it's $15. That'll just give you a big overview of what the hackathon is, but it won't help you to actually reflect through your own hackathon. That's what this does. It's kind of just build community. If you get this from me, make sure you have somebody to talk to about it. Because the reason I haven't released it publicly is because it's really just a structured way to worry if you do it by yourself. If you really think that you have to make all this stuff happen, it can be very triggering. So if you get this book, please make sure you build community around it. I feel you, Jamal. Thank you, Nicole. Yeah, this was interesting. I don't know why I thought it would be simple, but it took a lot of setup and preparing for this. But I will say, because I had this show, I've been working on my dissertation again this week because now I have like something to ignore. I haven't done nothing on my dissertation in like a month. And then this week, because I made this show, it was like, oh, well, I only got so much time. Let me get an hour in. So I figured out how my ADHD works. So I might have to do a show every week or something just to like have a deadline and have something to look forward to. There are some plans. I see a question about a virtual hackathon. I'm open to it. Because it's such a involved process, it's hard to make a space around a hackathon with multiple people. Like I've gotten paid to do it in formal settings, but virtually, I haven't quite figured out how that might work. But if you want to talk about that some more, we can, because the contract at the museum that I've had for the past few years that I lost because of COVID, they're thinking about how to do a virtual something. So I do need to figure that out. As of right now, I'll say if you want to do a cultural hackathon, if you want to spend time reflecting through problems that matter to you, reach out to me and I can do a virtual consultation with you. Because I think it'll be easier to do one-on-one. The idea of doing it in groups just gets difficult because people are worried about different problems and it becomes distracting and it becomes like a debate and it really doesn't need to be that. So I know I'm dissertating again because I would like to graduate in theory. Like I don't know what I'm graduating to, but it is going to be time to move at some point. All right, I don't see any more questions. You're interested in that is going to be on Instagram. If you follow my Angel, if you follow Beebe Speaks, that's where I'll be talking about grief and ancestors. It'll probably be in a couple weeks though, because I need to wash clothes and wash my dishes and live a regular person's life for a week or so. This whole, I'm an artist, I'm a student, I'm a video blogger. It'd be cute, but sometimes you need some off time. So it's about to be off time next week. Okay, well, I will plug that at 8 o'clock, there is an amazing live that's going to be happening between this platform called the Eastside Engineer and somebody by the name of Dominic Bednar. I don't know if you know either of them, but Dominic does work in environmental engineering. Yeah, and he's a PhD student that I know. He's at the University of Michigan. The Eastside Engineer is this podcast that was started by a Detroit engineer, and she talks to people of different pieces of engineering about how they do what they do. So that collaboration is going to be beautiful. If you're interested in that, please let me know because I'm about to hop over to that Instagram. It's at 8 o'clock, so I have some time. But if you're interested, come with me. And thank y'all so much for coming out. I'm pretty much, just waiting on y'all to tell me if I can go. I didn't think through the ending. I don't know how this works. Because there's still people watching, so it's like, in real life I would just get off stage. But this is my apartment. So like I could just go over there. But thank y'all for coming. Thank you for the love. Jonathan. And that's lit. Nice to see a bunch of Cash App notifications. I appreciate y'all. Y'all are real about it. All right, let me open up my privacy settings now and make it public. Oh, I gotta go back and watch this. Hey, Smith. You can turn your microphone on if you would like. Wait, don't do that yet. Let me turn off this other stuff. Thank y'all so much for joining me. Bye.